Hi, my name is Ryan Handel, co-founder and CEO of FIXE. FIXE is an automated technology-first bookkeeping solution for restaurants. I started FIXE about 6 years ago because I was sick of this antiquated industry and thought there was a better, more streamlined way of doing restaurant bookkeeping and giving our customers the best-in-class technology. I want to take a moment today and talk to you about a couple of new laws that are coming into play with regards to restaurants. One of which is specific to California and one of which is nationwide. First, let's talk about the new liquor law that's coming into play with California-based restaurants. Starting January 1st, 2026, all payments to liquor vendors have to be made electronically. So that means the checks that you were writing COD to your liquor vendors when they would drop off liquor, or those checks that you would mail in the mail to whoever you are, whatever winery you're trying to send to get your goods to sell to all of your customers, you can't do that anymore. You got to be paying these vendors electronically. So at FIXE, we pay all of our vendors through a service called Margin Edge. All of the liquor vendors are set up on there via ACH. We could also pay liquor vendors via FinTech, which I think a lot of you are familiar with. But you can't be paying liquor vendors with a check anymore. So for those restaurants that are not using some of the new softwares out there, this is going to change a lot. One, you're going to have to be paying your liquor vendors through their own portals. And let me tell you, if you've got 10 or 15 different liquor vendors, that's going to be a pain in the butt. You don't want to log into each of these portals every single time you got to pay them. You want to have a more streamlined system. In addition, if you're not using one of these systems and you have an old school kind of liquor provider that doesn't have a dashboard or anything like that, and you're on COD, you might need to prepay for your product before you actually receive it. Bottom line is, yes, this is a more secure way of paying those vendors, but from the operator standpoint, it's a little bit of a pain in the butt, right? So something that you're used to doing, you got to change and you got to use an updated technology and kind of bring yourself into the modern day. So starting 2026, if you're in California, you got to be paying all of your liquor vendors via electronic ways, ACH, through their own portals, FinTech, Margin Edge, or whatever other payment processor you use. But it's got to be digitally. No more handwritten checks or cash or anything of the sort. The second law I want to talk about that we've been getting a lot of questions is regarding the new big, beautiful bill that was just enacted by our president. Ultimately, we're not lawyers, but we have an idea of how this implicates restaurants specifically. So the big thing within that bill is that there's no personal taxes on tips or overtime that's specific to restaurant workers. And I believe it applies to other industries, but obviously tips and overtime are a big part of the restaurant industry. So the fact is there are some things that are changing and there are some things that are not going to change, right? So let's talk about some of the things that are changing. So all team members who receive tips and declare tips on their taxes, they will be getting a credit. I believe the credit, they have up to a $25,000 credit of tips that can be non-taxable, which depending on your tax bracket could save you $7,000, $8,000 or somewhere in that neighborhood. But if you make more than $25,000 in a year, anything above $25,000, I believe, is taxable. So what's going to happen on your payroll is nothing is going to change. You're going to get taxed on your tips. And then at the end of the year, when you file your taxes, you'll get this credit and you'll get a larger refund at the end of the year. But you cannot change anything on your payroll. The payroll should continue to be taxed the way it has, and then you'll just get this credit. Same thing goes for overtime. I don't recall what the limit is on the overtime credit, but it's the same thing. You're going to be taxed like every other payroll, and at the end of the year, you'll get a credit back to you. So for those restaurant owners who are asking, like, do I need to change anything? The answer is no. You continue doing payroll as is, and your employees, when they file their personal returns, they'll get the credits based on what's described in the big, beautiful bill. On the flip side, some people are saying, well, I'm the employer. I got to still pay my employer taxes on this. And the answer is yes. Everything stays the same. You continue to do payroll just as you did. You continue to process everything just as you were doing. And the employees get those benefits down the road. Lastly, and for states like us in California and probably other states across this nation, there are still state taxes related to tips and to overtime. The federal taxes are the ones that you're going to get credits for, but the state ones are still enabled based on state to state. Obviously, I don't know everyone's individual laws, but for California, those will probably still be enabled as well. So these are two laws that definitely impact restaurants. Again, we're not lawyers, but we have an idea of how this is starting to kind of come into play. We think this is something valuable that all restaurant people should at least be aware of. And again, if you think what we're saying is full of crap, Please leave a note down below or comment afterwards. Like, subscribe, do whatever you want. But ultimately, we just appreciate the fact that you're watching our channel right now. Have a good day. All right.